Hello everyone. We'll be looking at the sonnets from Portuguese number 43 by the poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning. First, we'll get to know a little bit more about Elizabeth Barrett Browning before we go ahead. Elizabeth Barrett Browning was an English poet and she was born in 1806. She had 11 siblings and she was the oldest out of them, which put a lot of pressure on her as the eldest child, which was increased by the fact that her mother passed away and her father was very strict. So, however, she was very well schooled and she had read numerous great pieces of literature before the age of 10, which includes Shakespeare, among others. She even began publishing at a very young age. Now, this sonnet has a big story behind it where Elizabeth Barrett Browning fell in love with the poet Robert Browning, and in order to keep their correspondence a secret, and she meant to write these sonnets for him, but in order to kind of um, give it a sense of disguise, she titled it Sonnets from Portuguese, uh, so it could be passed off as sonnets translated from Portuguese rather than what she has written herself. So she wrote these series of 44 sonnets in secret about her love for her husband to be poet Robert Browning, knowing that her father would not approve if it was known. So it's very autobiographical. And the story goes that she was eventually disinherited, but she did have a very happy married life with Robert Browning. So this is the background of this poem, the sonnet number 43 by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, written in 1850. And this is probably one of the most famous sonnets of the lot, of the set of 44 sonnets. This has a very famous opening line, "How do I love thee?" These lines, the first four lines, is kick-started by from a woman's perspective, which is unusual um, in the Victorian age. However, we do know that she wrote this sonnet. However, there is no specific gender mentioned either about the speaker or about who is being addressed. So the one universality of this sonnet is the fact that there is no specific name or gender mentioned throughout the sonnet, making it more viable to interpretation. This first line is a question: "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways." So it asks the question and challenges herself to compile reasons for her love, for and how can she express that. And the second and the lines that follow shows how does she love, or she tries to understand the depth of love she has for Robert Browning. "I love thee to the depth, breadth, and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace." In ideal grace, or uh, how it surpasses physical boundaries by talking about the depth of her soul in this love that she has for him. In lines 5 to 8, the poet um, talks about how, even be it night or day, the love that she has fills those quiet moments as well. And this makes the love that she has for him unconditional, free, and constant. "I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise." So this repetition of "I love thee" is a constant throughout the sonnet, intensifying as its sonnet reaches the end. And in the last part, the sestet, which starts at line 9, the speaker compares this newfound passion with her old griefs. She did have a lot of difficulty in her past life, whereas this new love is what replaces those passions. And she has given this love has given her a new lease on life, and she sees the a love with a renewed sense of what she has lost earlier. So, and but it she ends the sonnet by saying, "If I love thee with the breath, smile, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death." So, despite the sonnet beginning by asking the question or asking or challenging the speaker to list out the ways in which she loves him, it ends by looking at how difficult that task is, how impossible almost that task is. So, with that, this sonnet hopefully was an interesting read, and hope you explored it more thoroughly. Thank you for listening.